My name is Brandon Skubel. My business name is Niagara Student Painters, and we do residential and commercial painting.
Cool. And so what challenges were you facing with your business before joining the marketing mastermind? What made you ultimately decide to join?
Um, why I ultimately joined was I'd say a couple things. Um, Obviously, it's another source of marketing and lead generation for the business as the business picks up. Because it's seasonal, it does get super hard to balance everything inside the business. And Facebook is such an easy alternative to generate leads if you stick to the main points of everything. So the main challenges was lead generation during the busy seasons, and motivation to stay with lead generation throughout the busy season.
What do you mean by motivation? Like what were you doing before the mastermind to generate leads?
Mm. Yeah, before it was cold calling and maybe one home show per year and then referral networking. So, going on the streets during January, February when it's like snowy out, knocking on doors for around like 2 to 3 hours per day. And I'd have maybe one to two other people with me marketing for the business during that time. And then as it gets kind of nice and we start producing work, just doing that same thing on that client street or asking for referrals um, from their network.
Okay. Cool. And so what hesitations did you maybe have about joining initially?
I mean, the only hesitation was that I've never personally done it before, and I didn't know the exact amount of hours that were needed to have this actually successfully run. I'd say really the only hesitations.
Cool. So just like a lack of experience, didn't know exactly what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah, a lot of experience and just not knowing what you don't know, right? In terms of like the growth of Facebook and all of that kind of stuff and what you can generate that way.
Cool. And just I know a lot of people like they'll hire a marketing agency because they think that it's really complicated to do, right? They're like you. I don't know what I don't know. So I'll hire a marketing agency. They think it's going to take a lot of time. So they hire somebody to just do all of it for them so that they can go and focus on other aspects of the business, which might be more important.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people in terms of how difficult it actually is to get good results and in terms of how much time it takes to get good results?
And I'll answer that question in like two part. First part is it's always everything's always hard. It just comes down to discipline within that craft or whatever you're doing, correct? So in the aspect of not knowing, how many hours Facebook's going to be, let's say it's 2 hours and you think it's 10. Like you just don't know that difference. So what I would say is that, and someone told me this before and it really changed my mind in this, is we spend a lot of time, in bad habits, whether it's social media, just sitting on the couch, watching Netflix. And it's the exact same thing with Facebook marketing and online presence. When you're on the couch and there's a commercial on, hopping on for 10 minutes, making, share a post here and there. So ideally, I broke down the numbers and it only took me like 3 hours per week to generate the success I had. And the 3 hours breakdown was an accountability call with you, and then 2 hours either spent organically just spamming sharing posts on Facebook, or just 1 hours of like tweaking ads, making sure that that's running, replying to comments, entering leads into the CRA, that kind of stuff. And I broke down the number of what I actually generated, and I made $145 per hour this year just off Facebook stuff. And that was 3 hours per week, sitting on the couch if I'm doing something like working and I'm in a slump, just hopping on for like 10 minutes to do something. So it's extremely easy compared to the other generating tasks that we did in our business and anything else in the business, right? Because you could do it from home, you could do it from your car, things like that.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
And I guess would you say that it was easier or harder to get results than you expected?
It was easier to get results. Yeah, than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, what aspects of the mastermind did you find most valuable for you? Was it the additional training? Was it the templates? Was it the community? Or was it the personalized support?
Mm. Honestly, I thought about that question in my head before this, and I was gonna say all of that actually. I do think it's a combination of everything. You know, in the business world when you're don't know, so let's just keep it Facebook. If you don't know, that task seems so much harder. So to make things easier in your life is, getting a template, which I don't have to go and think about, getting someone to motivate you to do it, which, we got that from this. And adding those things up, it just makes it so much easier to actually go and get success, right? Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it for me is that I didn't have to go and actually physically think of what I needed to produce in terms of an ad because that's what slumped me the most. Oh, is this right? Is it look good? Is it not look good? What do I say here? What pictures do I add? So eliminating that for me was, I think, the number one success that shrunk, hours of time and effort into like 30 minutes of just copying, pasting, adding my own pictures. And then the motivation. So hearing other people get success, sharing my own success in the community, I think puts that kind of fire under your butt, I would say, of just like, you know what, there is going to be someone that I need to go and talk to about my efforts this week for this and that's totally personal. Like that's what motivates me. And that's what really worked from the, I guess, mastermind.
Yeah, and you've been in it for a few years, so I'd like to hear just what your results have been and for you to share. Like, because ultimately, it's like everything you're saying is great, but what are the results?
Yeah.
What did you actually? How much have you been able to book? So year one being in the mastermind, how much work were you able to add to your painting business?
Mhm. So in terms of our total sales for the year, we did $235,000 of revenue, and of that, we sold $90,000 from Facebook. So for every dollar spent into Facebook, I generated 18 bucks worth of sales for the business. And the total ad spend was just under 5,000, so 4,800 in
Amazing.
my first year. And then second year, we went and did $126,000 total of Facebook booked work with an ad spend of just under 10,000 of 9,600. So for every dollar spent, I generated $13 in sales. And that's, like I said, just off 3 hours per week starting in January of Facebook efforts. Um, so yeah, I look at those numbers as like really awesome for my own opinion. And that thing that really doubles down for me is that those numbers beat my cold call marketing hours and of spent money there and work produced and sold. And this is all just done from my own house, in the office, on the couch, 3 hours a week, just kind of organically doing and stuff like that from it. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I
And
think that's what really I would say is the biggest thing to take away is the hours spent in this versus hours spent somewhere else, and the lead generation number would just be insane for the business this year.
amazing. So how much has your mindset changed, or how has your mindset and approach to marketing your business, um, how has that changed now that you have this experience? What do you maybe see possible into the future now that you know how to generate consistent work
Hmm.
through click of some buttons and a little bit of ad spend?
Hmm. What I think is super, super possible is that now that I've been doing this a couple years, I have a lot of data and I could really make a clear budget and clear goal of, hey, what do I actually want to go and sell? And I know I have this machine, which would be Facebook marketing, that actually does generate me something, and I have numbers for this. So what's possible is I can actually go and write a formula. How much do I want to sell from Facebook? How much do I want to do total? And I can actually just make a game plan and know how much I need to budget, know how much time I need to budget per week, and just go and basically run through that for the whole year. So what I think is possible is just a lot more confidence in producing more work and growing that business to the size that I want to grow it to. Um, because the more you can add in terms of lead generation, the more you're going to sell, and that's obvious. So it's one of those things that you're just kind of getting better at. But I think the biggest possibility is just this clear path of what you can go and get for next year.
Amazing. Now, most people join because they want to book more work for their contracting business. But obviously, there's a lot of options that are out there, right? They can hire a marketing agency to do it for them. They could pay per lead, like buy leads from Thumbtack, Angie, HomeStars, those sorts of things. They could just try to figure it out all on their own. And obviously, they can join the mastermind. What do you think makes the marketing mastermind stand out from all of the other options that are out there?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me, and this is just how I am, motivated, is just learning new things and doing it yourself. I think if you're going to do something in the business, especially after this year, realizing this, of actually taking the time to learn something and do it yourself, you could see how you could slowly get more profit and better results that way. And you actually are doing this internally in the business, right? You're not outsourcing it to someone um, as well. And then I'd say the community, just like being able to call someone who's in the program that's doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, just somewhere else, and being able to compare and chit chat and set goals with each other to make sure that we actually kind of align that way. Um, so yeah, I definitely say those are just the two things that I would take away versus, the other things.
And for the amount that you had to invest to join the marketing mastermind, would you say that it was worth it?
100%. Yeah, for sure. And I will continue to do it. I know that for sure. So yeah.
Amazing. So if somebody was sitting here watching this video and they were on the fence about joining, they were on the fence about getting help with this, any last words? Like, what would you tell that person?
I would say that you are sorry, I would rewind that. I would say that you have this crazy good opportunity for a lot less work than you think it is going to be. And the reward at the end of it is going to be, to me, 13 or 18 times better. And I'll take that any day. And I would say that the community that you're missing out on, if you don't, commit, is just a whole nother thing, right? To me, I think sales and network are the number one thing in your business, and relationships. And that's what you do, or what I've got out at least of this program. And I'll continue to get out of it. So